yes, of course I'm going live. I already told you this.
Yeah. We're getting there, I guess.
It says, it seems like you're going live. I'm like, yes, I know. You should have already been live. So, sweet.
Yeah, I've got an ad. Okay.
Okay, so even though we've already done this, all right, welcome to Rock Talk, hopefully, and thank you for joining us, John, through all of the insanity of things not working. We're gonna have to talk really quickly so that Brandy can be part of this discussion. Now, you wanted to say something.
So, for those of you who may not know, we're going to talk about the band Alice in Chains from Seattle, which was formed in 1987 by lead guitarist and vocalist Jerry Cantrell and the drummer Sean Kenny. Later, the bassist Mike Starr and lead vocalist Lane Stanley joined the band. Mike Starr was then replaced with Mike Inez in 1993, and that was the band until Lane Stanley died. Then in 2005, the new singer William Duvall took place over Lane Stanley, and I want to start off by saying I have huge respect for William because he had gigantic shoes to fill, and holy crap. I mean, can you even imagine replacing a legendary singer from a legendary band?
Yeah.
He actually kind of does sound like Lane Stanley as much as the man can be. Yeah. So, honestly, like, it's kind of your opinion, but and it still sounds like Alice in Chains, I think.
When they harmonize, it sounds.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
We still haven't been able to see this band live.
No.
We never got to see the original lineup. And then we found out right before they came to Fort Lauderdale, like, oh, hey, did you know that they're back and they have a new singer, like, and they're on tour. But I forget why we weren't able to see the
well,
band.
It's sold out. I think we might have waited a little bit too long
because we probably didn't know about it.
Yeah. But like pretty much when we knew it was sold out. It was also a small venue. Was the Revolution?
I think so. We were actually I think there was an outdoor concert.
Yeah.
And there was like a parking garage across the street from it. And we were kind of thinking, like, what if we just, went to the parking garage and watched it from there?
Which we could have, honestly. We really could have. And you can hear fine from there.
Yeah, it's like, well, we could do that or not see the concert at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
which we opted for not seeing.
But so they've had 3 albums since the new lineup started,
which is Black Gives Way to Blue in 2009, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here in 2013, and Rainier Fog in 2018.
Which I didn't realize that's 2 different albums that came out in 2018 that I didn't realize came out in 2018. The other one would be the new Black Eyed Peas album without Fergie.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I told you that.
Oh yes, yeah. I seem to remember you telling me that now.
Yeah. So it goes back to the roots, which is pretty cool. Which maybe we'll cover that another time, even though it's not rock. But it started as me saying, like, I when they reformed with the new lead singer, I'm like, cool. I actually stopped kind of listening to Alice in Chains for a little while. And when they did their Unplugged album, I wasn't listening to them as much as I had in the past. But I've always been jealous of my sister who went to the Unplugged concert because that would have been pretty amazing. So it was like, well, okay, well, maybe I'll listen to the new album. And ever since Black Gives Way to Blue, or Blue Gives Way to Black, or whatever it is.
Black Gives Way to Blue.
it's like, yeah, it kind of sounds like Alice in Chains. The harmony is there, the guitars, it's just something's not the same.
I want to say, so a little bit of the punch of old school Alice is kind of gone. And maybe it's just the lyrics. But like I used to find Alice in Chains pretty depressing, like for several songs. The video for I Stay Away was pretty depressing. Don't Follow is super depressing. A lot of Alice in Chains fans point to Nutshell being one of their hardest hitting songs, and I would tend to agree. It's a acoustic song, and the lyrics are like right there, and they're pretty hard hitting. So
yeah,
maybe it's just the lyrical content. I mean, look, the new school stuff like still has some like pretty like hardcore lyrics like "Slap Me Around for Fun" or "Someone Come Fix My Brain," that kind of stuff. But like a lot of the lyrics, the new school lyrics seem a little happier.
Yeah,
and maybe that's just part of age. Like they're all like 50s and like upper 40s, and so maybe that's just part of aging, or I guess the having somebody like a central figure of the band not having a heroin addiction struggle, like maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
I think I remember some members of Slipknot saying that their first album, a lot of people said that they find a lot of anger in that album, and they're like, well, once they worked out their anger issues and they were a successful band, like they weren't angry anymore, and like that's not in their music anymore. So maybe like that's kind of how it is. Although I never noticed anger in the first Slipknot album either, so I don't know. But we were saying before on the Orlando show that I kind of get the feeling that Alice in Chains at this point is no longer even a cover band of themselves, but more like a completely different band that just happens to have influences of Alice in Chains rather than still being Alice in Chains, despite most of the members still being there from the previous lineup.
I mean, it's the same band except for a new singer. Honestly, like the same band since 1993, except for a new singer. The only person that got replaced in the original band was the original bassist. Other than that, it's the same guitar player, same drummer, same bass player since 1993, and now a new singer who's honestly phenomenal. If they kind of like tried the Pink Floyd thing of like, hey, let's just retire the name Alice in Chains and just start a new band, or maybe I don't know, like Audio Slave or
Devil Driver.
Yeah, Devil Driver.
Except that's the opposite. That was the same singer of a different band.
But like like same kind of musical ideas. Just like hey, we're not this band. We're now this band, and it might have been a different story.
Maybe, but I think the reason they brought in new singers, they wanted to continue, but it's just something's not there, and I thought maybe it's just me. I don't know. Did you get to listen to Love Hate Love, Brandy?
I did. Okay, so I shows from the new stuff.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that was one of the things that really. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, mm, yeah.
Well, since we're talking about Alice, in a general
Chains.
sense, I'll give throughout their career, I'll give a lot of their highlights. So, Man in the Box from Facelift 1990, Rooster from Dirt 1992, Down in a Hole, also Dirt 1992, Nutshell from Jar of Flies 1994, Them Bones from Dirt 1992, I Stay Away, Jar of Flies 1994, No Excuses, and probably my favorite Alice in Chains song, Jar of Flies 1984, Heaven Beside You, Angry Chair, Wood. That's from the single soundtrack. So like one of their I don't know if you call it a deep cut because that was actually like one of their biggest like songs. Got Me Wrong from SAP 1992. Bleed the
Oh,
Free.
wow. Okay.
Huh?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Um,
Oh, turn me up. I'm too quiet.
yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you, John. Um, more technical funds. It muted for some reason.
Yeah.
Great.
Um,
It's too bad because we spent a lot of time working on the research for this, but
are we good, John? Is that good? Is that
yeah,
better?
I just unmuted it, so it
Okay.
should be. I didn't realize it was because it wasn't before. I don't know why I decided to now.
And then
Sorry about that, guys.
Got Me Wrong from SAP 1992, which also appears in the Clerks movie.
Hmm.
Um,
And Man of the Rooster was in was it one of the Terminator movies?
Genesis.
Yeah.
Bleed the Freak from Facelift in 1990. Again from Alice in Chains 1995. What the H Have I from Last Action Hero was that actually a pretty good song. I
Yeah.
liked that song. Over Now from Alice in Chains. Your Decision from Black Goods Way to Blue. There's a lot of these, so Check My Brain from Check My Brain 2009, but that's also from Black Goods Way to Blue. Don't Follow from Jar of Flies 1994, probably one of their most emotional songs.
Yeah.
Grind from Alice in Chains 1995. Get Born Again from Music Box 1999. Rotten Apple, Jar of Flies 1994. Love Hate Love, Facelift 1990. Sea of Sorrow, Facelift 1990. Junkhead, Sludge Factory. Brother from SAP 1992. Rain When I Die, Dirt 1992. Hate to Feel, Dirt 1992. A Looking at View from Black Goes Way to Blue. Stone from The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. The One You Know from Rainier Fog. And Voices from The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here.
What an insane amount of singles.
Yeah, so a lot. I wanted to give like a comprehensive overlook that like this is like a very very big band.
Yeah.
And like there's well-known songs throughout their career. My new school favorite is probably the title track, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here from the album The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here.
That's a pretty decent one, yeah.
Yeah. I also like All Secrets Known from Black Gives Way to Brew. That was a really good crunchy song.
But one of my favorite, I think one of the prettiest or most beautiful sounding song is Love Hate Love. But oh my gosh, those lyrics are just wrong.
But
It's kind of intense.
that's kind of like what I think is going on is like a lot of Lane's lyrics were very, very like hardcore and depressing and emotional. Like he struggled with drugs like most of his life.
Well, I mean that depression and blatantly breaking lots of laws is not the same thing.
Sure.
It's just that's like it's disturbing lyrics, but like the song, the music itself is like, wow, that's a really nice, and the harmonies and things like that is, well, not that song, but and his vocals in that song are like pretty amazing. But yeah, wow, those lyrics. But one of the things about Alice in Chains that made him unique is harmonizing like that in hard and sometimes heavy rock is pretty uncommon. So that was a very unique combination that made him stand out.
Yeah, that was so among the Seattle Big Four, you have Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and Alice in Chains. And Alice in Chains were unique in the fact that they harmonized vocals. They were like a hard rock band, but I mean, you've got like one great singer and another great singer who worked very well together. And yeah, Pearl Jam had Eddie Vedder, but like nobody really like sang backup for him. Not really. Yeah. There was Temple of the Dog, where Chris Cornell from Soundgarden and Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam like sang together most of the time, but it was mostly Chris on Temple of the Dog.
I think of those Seattle supergroups, though, I think you can easily mention Mad Season in that as well, which Lane Staley did. Lane Staley was the vocalist for there, and that had who was in that? Mark McCready was in that. Yeah. The guy from Screaming Trees was in that. So there were a lot of Seattle melding supergroups at that time. They were definitely all influenced by each other consistently. I think thematically, early Alice in Chains sounds the most like early Soundgarden in the fact that a lot of it was just kind of fast and grindy and shreddy. But when you get to that Jar of Flies EP specifically, that's kind of where the roads diverge for me. I know I said earlier with Dirt that I feel like that's kind of where the vocal harmonization started. But that Jar of Flies EP, like that's 100% Jerry Cantrell.
Yeah.
The tonal shift there, I was relatively young in 1992 when that came out, so I don't know that it was on my radar as much. But the fans had to have been like, "We want Man in the Box, give us Man in the Box again." And they're like, "Oh, you're not going to get Man in the Box. You're going to get cellos." Like, "Oh, how do you feel about a country lullaby?"
How do you feel about I Stay Away?
Yeah.
I love I Stay Away. I Stay Away to me is probably the pick on the Jar of Flies EP. Yeah. Partly because I feel like the music video was super influential. In the 90s, there was like this claymation rock music video renaissance. Primus had a claymation video. Tool had several claymation videos. And this was like the Alice in Chains claymation video for I Stay Away of the kid on the train with the jar of flies going to the creepy clay circus kind of thing. And I feel like that was a unusual breakthrough for the rest of that EP. But if you were like a really, heavy Seattle sound, you like that drop D, you like a lot of that heavier tone. If you picked that EP up, you would be like, what the heck is this? Why are there cellos? Like, what is going on?
And there was a lot of clay animation music videos that were like disturbing. Like, why would you let a jar of flies out to irritate a lion to go on a killing spree? Like, what does that even have to do with the song?
I don't find the video depressing. Is like, who is the guy who goes to the circus and like purposely sabotages it? Like, was there a story to it, or is it just like some guy's like, I'm going to destroy a circus
and get people killed?
Yeah.
And annoy some lions. And like, it's just like a messed up video.
Yeah.
But then
it's
again,
such an
so is some
unusual
of the Tool
compliment
videos.
to that song, though. It's such an unusual compliment to that song. I mean, everybody thinks about that first line of, "Hey, I want to travel south this year," and it's about the kid's journey of traveling. Essentially. I think that was kind of the turning point into what I have officially called the Jerry Cantrell mood. I don't know if either of you have ever listened to either of Jerry Cantrell's solo albums, but Jerry Cantrell's solo albums could actually like just plug right in at the back of Jar of Flies and really have a continuation. I think that Cut You In, which is like of the Jerry Cantrell solo singles, that's probably the most known one. It absolutely sounds like it's cut right off Jar of Flies. You can tell there that Lane was not, I don't know, maybe mentally aware enough to be doing a lot of the primary songwriting, or if he was just like, hey, let's try some crazy stuff. Like, I'm really high. Let's get a cello, like whatever.
So,
but that to me is really the turning point in the band, is that specific EP.
And just talk briefly about Rooster, because that's a pretty awesome story. It was a great song. If you don't know the backstory, but the backstory makes it even more amazing. The version I've heard anyway.
Yeah.
What I understand is that that's Jerry's father that they're talking about, who was in the Vietnam War and was nicknamed the Rooster. And because he was in, I think it's Jerry Sr., if I understand correctly, because he was in the military and his son was this long-haired rock guy. They did, and I think some other issues they didn't, and because of, I think, post-war stress, they didn't really talk to each other much. But that's when he wrote the song "The Rooster," and his mom finally pushed his dad to come to the concert, and they played "The Rooster," and they had this emotional moment where the father finally saw what his son does and like the value in it.
Yeah.
Since then, they've actually brought the father on stage during some of their shows, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
And that's a good story. I like that because, father and son can, butt heads about things, and like a military man seeing like, oh, my crazy son who has long hair and plays guitar in some band, know.
And then and I was watching a video of one of the music festivals that they played the song. I think it's more recently. They gave a guitar to Jerry Sr., signed by all the bands on that tour, for his dad and for his service and things like that. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then the guy was super Southern. He's like, I accept this guitar on the behalf of my fallen brothers, and everyone's like, yeah, USA, USA.
We don't all sound like that in the South.
Well, this guy does. Wherever he's from, his accent was thick. It was really it was very thick, which is funny because I don't think Jerry talks like that.
Yeah, but and it's also funny, like why did if the dad is from I guess the parents, like the mom and dad are from somewhere in like the South, how'd they end up in Seattle?
I don't know. Maybe that's had something to do with the story of his dad and he not getting along.
Maybe.
But anyway, back to
if they were military, maybe they were just stationed there.
Possibly so. Going back a minute to "I Stay Away," the lyric you mentioned, Brandy, about hey, I want to travel south this year. So if you like, you can go on a website called genius.com, and there's like, look up a song, and there's like all these comments about like what the lyric means. And it's fan interpretations, but they all seem to make sense. So like, think of it as a Wikipedia of music. The annotation for that lyric was, he wants to migrate like the birds fly south to make a change. The uplifting beat in the background provides a sense of hope. And it was, I tend to agree with that. Like when I hear that first line, hey, yeah, like see a new area. You just, go south and, travel somewhere. And
sure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. It all ends up going horribly wrong. I guess because, at least in the video, like this guy has like evil intentions, but that first line, yeah, it definitely like has a sense of like good change.
So
That's an amazing song.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorites.
So from what I've heard from the new school albums, I tend to like it. It's missing a little bit of that punch from old school Alice, but
Yeah.
I mean the sound is still there.
But it's all kind of mediocre. Like, in my opinion, like, take the most meh songs from their previous albums and like make just those albums. Kind of like for me, when Stone Temple Pilots started making albums again, it was like, yeah, but those are the songs I didn't like later on in their career.
Stone Temple Pilots is a very apt comparison. I didn't put that together initially, but I definitely can see a similarity in the new Stone Temple Pilots, because Stone Temple Pilots has the DeLeo brothers that do the primary songwriting now, kind of in the same juxtaposition that where Jerry Cantrell had to take over being a solo songwriter, they had to take over all of the songwriting.
But even before,
I think instead of having that blend, you know,
like, I still like their very first album, even though supposedly people said it sounded like Pearl Jam. It doesn't sound like Pearl Jam to me, but their second album is good, and it just kind of, the third album I didn't really like so much, and their newer albums are like their third album, even with Scott still being in the band.
Yeah.
Any Scott Weiland Stone Temple Pilots album is one of my favorites. Stone Temple Pilots is one of my absolute favorite bands of all time. I had the opportunity to see them live a couple times.
Yeah.
I saw Scott also with Velvet Revolver.
Yeah, I kind of wish I saw that.
I hate on my Stone Temple Pilots now. Those are my guys.
Going back to the old point of like, why didn't they just like retire the name Alice in Chains and start a new band? When a band does that, there's always the legacy of, oh, it's this band, but now it's different. You're like, Velvet Revolver is always going to be, oh, Stone Temple Pilots with Slash on guitar.
Yep.
You know, pretty much.
Yep. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not Stone Temple Pilots. It's a
a
different
lot
band.
of Velvet Revolver to me sounds much more Guns N' Roses than it does Stone Temple Pilots,
Well,
because
sure.
of the
Yeah.
Slash
Because let me
influence.
think about who's on lead guitar.
True.
You know,
Looping it back around to Alice in Chains, though, while I was given through on the re-listen, I know you talked about Don't Follow for a minute, but that song to me, it hits exactly like Patience by Guns N' Roses. It has a very like kind of a country western like vibe to it. It almost feels like a lullaby in certain places, but then at the end of it, it kind of gets like peppier. Listen to Don't Follow and Patience by Guns N' Roses back to back,
no,
and
I
they
know
are.
what you're talking. I know exactly, because like I've heard enough of Patience to, I see exactly what you're talking about. Like it's very like slower, and then like toward the end of the song, there's a key change and the tempo rises, and
Yep. They hit the exact same kind of tone to me for sure.
it's just lyrically, Don't Follow is a lot sadder.
Oh, it's extremely heavy.
Yeah.
Extremely heavy.
Patience is all about, hey, you know, we can do this. We just have to, you know, be careful and be patient. And Don't Follow is like, I'm going somewhere where you can't go, and don't stop me.
Yep.
You know, I'm not coming home again. You know, pretty much like you could interpret it as like this person is dying. You know, I think it's I think a lot of it is,
especially the Say Goodbye, Don't Follow.
yeah.
What's your favorite track?
I think it's Lane talking about his drug addiction, which, you know, he struggled a lot with, and it's got to be tough, you know, to be a rock star in the public eye like that and have all this money and, you know, all these problems. Well, how do you deal with the problems? Well, you can drown them by, you know, drugs or alcohol or whatever it is.
It is kind of interesting that they have one song about like you can don't try to understand the user's mind, but you can try with your books and degrees.
Yeah.
And then I think I can't remember, if it's the same album. They talk about what in God's name have you done, when they talk about like, why would you take drugs? I'm like, wait a minute, is that the same band or just saying back off? Don't analyze people who don't judge people who use drugs. It's like, okay, interesting.
Well, I think it speaks to the duality of addiction in general. So,
Sure. There's a lot of guilt to addiction.
But
maybe we should have started with this, but just want to throw it out there. What's everybody's favorite Alice in Chains song? Or maybe do your favorite album and then your favorite track.
yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Well, my favorite track is "No Excuses" from Jar of Flies, 1994.
Yeah.
It's a fun Alice in Chains song.
Yep, I love that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's either Dirt or Facelift. I forgot. I haven't looked
Old
back
stuff.
in a while. But yeah, various songs. Like I said, I definitely as cringy as the lyrics are. Love Hate Love is such a great song. And the Rooster, especially now that I know more about the backstory of the song. Rooster is even more amazing. It's a great song by itself, but knowing that he wrote it about his dad, and writing that song brought the two together and had a great relationship with his father after that. I mean, wow. It's kind of hard to compete with that.
Something fun that maybe you could look up later, Brandy, is there's a YouTube channel called Joey Seiler, and he does a lot of animal parodies of classic grunge songs. So like there's Kitties in Chains, Cat in the Box.
Ha ha! I want to look that up.
And it's all about a cat and his litter box.
I thought that the Fox Network was going to we'll do a parody back in the day of I'm the man watching Fox, but that never happened.
Oh, hey, John's got a great comment on here. It says, y'all are making me want to go back and hear some of these that I haven't heard in decades. And that was me too. When Dave hit me with this, I was like, oh, I'm going to go back. I'm going to listen to it. And it was a good walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, for me.
So I've known John for years, and John mainly listens to classical music. So like sometimes like a lot of rock music has gone under his radar. So it's interesting for him to hear us talk about stuff like this.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. This is what I wanted to involve the show more into a lot more research, so we could talk about it. Because when we talked about the Guns N' Roses incident, we're like, well, this happened, we think, and what about the guy who found the stack of Marshalls down the street? You're like, what? I'm like, okay, we really need to dive into this before.
Well, I mean, I researched and I found an article about the camera incident. I didn't know anything about Marshalls. So
that's why, unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap up a little bit early today. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You think?
I think it'd be cool to do a series on each of the big four. Like, let's do a Pearl Jam one. Let's do a Soundgarden one. I think that'd be cool.
I mean, we could talk forever about Pearl Jam and the history of Pearl Jam, and
I would spin Stone Temple Pilots for you for like, or if you want to hear about my
Smashing Pumpkins, like all those like old classic bands.
So I guess we'll leave with the question: do you think Alice in Chains is going to stay in the direction in the sound that they have now, and is that the voice of the past, or do you think we might hear some great songs again, like Man in the Box, Love Hate Love?
There's a few good ones. I think there's a few good new ones. I think Check My Brain, that was that first like comeback single for them. I feel like that's a pretty strong song.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the potential is there. It's just really hard to overcome the past.
I just feel like there's a lot more great songs per album. But
I also kind of think like it might be a Star Wars trilogy thing. Like, the older fans will always stick with the original trilogy, while like some of the younger people will always like the prequels. Some of these kids who are into rock music and discover Alice in Chains, they'll definitely be more into new school Alice than old school Alice. Just because like that was their first, Alice in Chains, where ours was the original lineup.
Right, I could see that. Actually, the first Alice in Chains album that I bought was the self-titled one. The one that my favorite Alice in Chains song is "Heaven Beside You," and the album that has "Heaven Beside You" on it is the self-titled one that has like the 3-legged dog on the cover.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing. A lot of times when now that streaming and digital music and downloads and all that, you'll see the cover art with the dog and the green background, and I'm like, yeah, but is it? Because the CD case was green. If you took it out, it's a black and white photo.
Really, that's just a self-titled album too, but everybody that I know either called it Grind, because that's the first song on the album, or they called it the Three-Legged Dog album. I don't know anybody
or Tripod.
Self-titled.
Yeah.
But all right, we got to wrap because Brandy's got to go to work.
Oh, hey
Brandy.
guys, I'm gonna update the Spotify playlist too. I'll throw everybody's favorite at the end, and you can search for Rock Talk on Spotify, and we come up there. There's a great playlist of songs we've talked about before, and I will check these on at the end.
All right.
Brandy, listen, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for talking before you have to talk some more. So.
Yep, and then we'll hopefully when we do this again next time, hopefully things will all work.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.